Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Introduction to Gender Studies in Discourse Analysis. The confluence of gender studies and discourse analysis marks a significant scholarly intersection that profoundly enriches our understanding of how gender is articulated, experienced, and contested within the tapestry of language and society. This multidisciplinary approach leverages the analytical prowess of discourse analysis to unravel the intricate ways in which language constructs and perpetuates gender norms, while gender studies offers critical insights into the socio-political dimensions of gender relations and identities. Tracing the historical evolution of both fields, from the foundational contributions of thinkers like Simone de Beauvoir and Michel Foucault to the burgeoning scholarship at their intersection, sets the stage for exploring the dynamic interplay between gender and discourse. This synthesis not only deepens our theoretical comprehension but also opens up practical avenues for challenging gendered discourses, fostering a more inclusive and equitable social landscape. 1. Historical development. Gender studies and discourse analysis, though distinct in their origins and developments, have increasingly converged, offering rich insights into the construction and performance of gender through language and social practices. The historical development of both fields involves an array of key figures and theoretical shifts, notably including contributions from Simone de Beauvoir and Michel Foucault, among others, who have significantly influenced contemporary understandings of gender and discourse. 1. Historical development of gender studies. Foundations in feminism. Gender studies has its roots in feminist thought and activism, emerging as an academic discipline in the late 20th century. This field sought to interrogate the social constructions of gender, moving beyond biological determinism to explore the complex interplay of culture, society, and politics in shaping gender identities and relations. Simone de Beauvoir. Often heralded as the foundational figure in gender studies, Simone de Beauvoir's seminal work, The Second Sex, 1949, posited that one is not born, but rather becomes, a woman, challenging essentialist notions of femininity and laying the groundwork for the conceptualization of gender as a social construct. The expansion of gender studies. Over the decades, gender studies has broadened its scope to include a wide range of issues related to gender and sexuality, influenced by movements such as second-wave feminism, queer theory, and intersectionality. The field has been instrumental in highlighting issues of gender inequality, exploring the diversity of gender and sexual identities, and advocating for social change. 2. Historical development of discourse analysis. Linguistics and beyond. Discourse analysis originated within linguistics, with a focus on the study of language use beyond the sentence level. It examined how texts and spoken language serve to construct meaning within specific contexts. Michel Foucault. A pivotal figure in the expansion of discourse analysis, Michel Foucault introduced a broader conceptualization of discourse in works such as The Archaeology of Knowledge, 1969, and Discipline and Punish, 1975. Foucault's analysis of discourse emphasized the relationship between language, power, and knowledge, showing how discourses function to construct social realities, identities, and power relations. Interdisciplinary growth. Discourse analysis has grown to become an interdisciplinary field, drawing on sociology, anthropology, psychology, and cultural studies. This expansion reflects a growing interest in the role of language and discourse in shaping social structures, identities, and practices. 3. Convergence of gender studies and discourse analysis. The intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis represents a fruitful collaboration, providing tools and frameworks to explore how gender is constructed, negotiated, and challenged through discourse. This interdisciplinary approach allows for a critical examination of texts, media, and everyday language, revealing the discursive mechanisms through which gendered identities and power dynamics are produced and maintained. The historical development of gender studies and discourse analysis highlights a trajectory from their respective origins towards a productive intersection that deeply informs contemporary analyses of gender. By tracing the contributions of key figures such as Simone de Beauvoir and Michel Foucault, we can appreciate the rich theoretical landscapes that these fields offer for understanding the complex relations between gender, language, and society. This convergence not only enriches academic inquiry but also supports broader efforts towards gender equity and social justice. 2. Defining the intersection. The intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis represents a vibrant and critical space where the analytical tools and theoretical insights of both fields converge to illuminate the complex ways in which gender is constructed, represented, and negotiated through language and discourse. This intersection is not merely additive but transformative, enriching our understanding of both gender and discourse by revealing how deeply they are intertwined in the fabric of social life. 1. Understanding the complementarity. Gender as constructed through discourse. One of the foundational premises at this intersection is the understanding that gender is not an innate, fixed attribute but is constructed through social practices, including language use. Discourse analysis provides the methodological tools to examine how gender identities and relations are produced, reproduced, and contested in various textual forms and communicative practices. Discourse as gendered. Conversely, from a gender studies perspective, discourses are not neutral but are imbued with gendered assumptions and power relations. This perspective highlights how language both reflects and reinforces societal norms and inequalities related to gender. Analyzing discourse through a gender lens reveals the subtle ways in which language can perpetuate stereotypes, marginalize voices, and privilege certain identities over others. Power relations and inequality. Both gender studies and discourse analysis are deeply concerned with issues of power and inequality. Their intersection allows for a nuanced exploration of how power is articulated, negotiated, and challenged in discourse and how these processes impact gender relations. This includes examining the institutional, cultural, and interpersonal levels at which gendered discourses operate. 2. Methodological synergy. Critical discourse analysis, CDA. CDA emerges as a particularly fruitful approach at the intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis, offering a critical framework for examining how discourses shape and are shaped by social power relations, including gender. CDA's focus on linking textual analysis to broader social and cultural contexts aligns with gender studies' interest in understanding the socio-political dimensions of gender. Multimodal and interdisciplinary approaches. The integration of gender studies and discourse analysis encourages the use of multimodal and interdisciplinary approaches that consider not only textual but also visual, auditory, and performative aspects of discourse. This broadened scope is crucial for capturing the complexity of gender as it is lived and experienced across diverse contexts. 3. Expanding the scope of inquiry. Inclusion of diverse gender identities. This intersectional approach is particularly attuned to the diversity of gender identities and experiences, including those of transgender, non-binary, and genderqueer individuals. By focusing on how these identities are discursively constructed and contested, researchers can contribute to a more inclusive and equitable understanding of gender. Exploring global and transnational dimensions. Gender studies and discourse analysis also intersect in their attention to global and transnational dimensions of gender, examining how discourses travel across cultural and national boundaries and how they intersect with issues of race, class, sexuality, and colonialism. The intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis provides a rich and dynamic framework for understanding the intricate ways in which gender is interwoven with language and social practices. By complementing each other, these fields offer comprehensive insights into the construction of gender identities, the negotiation of gender relations, and the possibilities for challenging and transforming gendered discourses. This interdisciplinary convergence not only advances academic knowledge but also has profound implications for social change, advocacy, and policymaking related to gender equality and justice. Conclusion. The intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis represents a vibrant academic nexus that provides a comprehensive framework for exploring the construction and negotiation of gender through language and social interaction. By marrying the methodological tools of discourse analysis with the critical perspectives of gender studies, this interdisciplinary approach offers nuanced insights into the ways language both shapes and is shaped by gendered power dynamics. Through the lens of critical discourse analysis and other methodological innovations, scholars at this intersection examine a wide array of texts and communicative practices, revealing the deeply ingrained discursive mechanisms through which gender inequalities are perpetuated and contested. Furthermore, this convergence underscores the importance of considering gender in its multifaceted complexity, advocating for the inclusion of diverse gender identities and experiences in discourse analysis. The attention to global and transnational dimensions of gender discourses, alongside a commitment to exploring the intersections of gender with race, class, sexuality, and other axes of difference, highlights the expansive scope of inquiry necessitated by our increasingly interconnected world. Ultimately, the fruitful intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis not only advances academic discourse but also has significant implications for social change, advocacy, and policy making. By critically examining and challenging the discursive constructions of gender, this interdisciplinary field contributes to the broader project of promoting gender equality and justice, underscoring the transformative potential of language as a site of resistance and redefinition. Through ongoing research, dialogue, and application, the insights garnered at this juncture will continue to illuminate the complex dynamics of gender and power, guiding efforts towards a more inclusive and equitable society. Frequently asked questions. What is the significance of combining gender studies and discourse analysis? The combination allows for a comprehensive exploration of how gender identities and relations are constructed and negotiated through language and discourse, providing insights into the social practices that shape gender perceptions and inequalities. How does discourse construct gender identity? Discourse constructs gender identity by creating, reinforcing, and challenging norms and expectations about what it means to be male, female, or other gender identities. Through language and social practices, individuals learn and perform their gender roles. What does it mean that discourse is gendered? Discourse is gendered in that it carries assumptions and values about gender that reflect and perpetuate societal norms. Language use, including the choice of words, representations, and narrative structures, can reinforce traditional gender roles and power imbalances. How do gender studies and discourse analysis approach power relations and inequality? Both fields critically examine the ways power is embedded in and exercised through discourse, especially how language can both reflect and contribute to gender inequalities. They explore mechanisms of inclusion, exclusion, and representation within discursive practices. What is critical discourse analysis, CDA, and its relevance? CDA is a methodological approach that examines the role of discourse in maintaining and challenging social power relations. It's relevant for analyzing how gender is portrayed and negotiated in texts, linking textual analysis to broader sociopolitical contexts. Why are multimodal and interdisciplinary approaches important? They allow researchers to consider various forms of communication beyond text, such as visual and digital media, providing a fuller understanding of how gender is constructed across different platforms and cultural practices. How does this interdisciplinary approach contribute to understanding diverse gender identities? It offers tools to analyze the discourse surrounding transgender, non-binary, and genderqueer identities, shedding light on how these identities are represented, marginalized, or empowered through language and social interactions. What role does examining global and transnational dimensions play? This focus helps understand how gender discourses are shaped by global forces and cultural exchanges, highlighting the intersection of gender with race, class, sexuality, and colonial histories in constructing identities and power dynamics. How does the intersection of gender studies and discourse analysis advance social change? By uncovering and challenging the discursive practices that underpin gender inequalities, this intersectional approach provides pathways for advocating for more equitable gender representations and relations in society. What are the challenges in integrating gender studies and discourse analysis? One challenge is ensuring that the complexity and nuance of gender experiences are fully captured without reinforcing stereotypes. Another is balancing the focus on language and discourse with attention to material and structural conditions affecting gender inequalities.